You say you work best under pressure. No, you only work when you're scared. Remove the deadline and you stall. Remove the consequences and you negotiate. You don't lack discipline. You require panic to function. Notice what happens when something becomes urgent. 3 days before, you delayed. The night before, you planned. 3 hours before, you locked in. Funny how clarity arrives the moment consequences do. Suddenly you're focused, clear, efficient, no overthinking, no hesitation, no procrastination. So the problem was never capability. It's that you only move when something's about to break. There's a reason this works. When urgency hits, your body shifts into survival mode. And survival mode is efficient. It removes hesitation. Stress simplifies the world. Instead of 10 options, you see one. Instead of debating, you decide. Instead of scrolling, you move. It's amazing how confusion disappears when your grade's on the line. That's why deadlines feel productive. They don't give you motivation, they remove your ability to hesitate. When nothing is urgent, your brain negotiates. When something is urgent, it commits. So, you didn't unlock discipline, you triggered threat response, and your nervous system has learned something dangerous. It only respects consequences. If the cost doesn't feel immediate, you don't act. That's not laziness, that's conditioning. You've trained yourself to respond to danger, not intention. Now here's the part you won't like. You call this a strength. I just work better under pressure. That's not self-awareness. That's branding your procrastination. That sentence protects you because if you work better under pressure, then the problem isn't discipline. It's timing. It's circumstances. It's waiting for the right moment. That story turns procrastination into personality. It lets you avoid responsibility while sounding self-aware. But if you truly worked best under pressure, you'd also work well without it. You're not optimized for urgency. You're dependent on it. Remove the countdown. What happens? You drift. You reorganize. You stall. That's not a productivity style. That's self-deception. Early Jin-Woo didn't train because he was disciplined. He fought because survival demanded it. When the statues activated in the double dungeon, no one hesitated. No one debated. Fear made the decision for him. Threat creates clarity. Anyone becomes focused when the alternative is losing everything. That's reactive strength. It only appears when the environment forces it. But later in the series, something changes. The threat isn't immediate. No collapsing temple, no countdown, and he still trains. Daily quests, repetition, alone. No panic, no emergency, just repetition. That's the shift. Not from weak to strong, from reactive to deliberate. Early Jin-Woo needed danger to move. The statues weren't impressed by excuses. Later, Jin-Woo moved before danger appeared. And that's the level you haven't trained yet. Right now, you are early stage. You act when you're cornered. You execute when the consequences are visible. You focus when the clock is against you. But remove the threat, and you disappear. Here's the part nobody talks about. Panic-based productivity works. Short term, you meet the deadline, you deliver, you survive. And that reinforces the pattern. You think, see, I always pull through. But look at what it's training. When you rely on urgency to function, you're teaching your body that stress equals action. So calm feels wrong. Silence feels unproductive. Free time feels suspicious. You don't relax. You wait for the next fire. You don't have anxiety. You have a deadline addiction, and something worse happens. You stop trusting yourself outside of pressure. You don't act because you decided to. You act because you have to. That's not discipline. That's self-rescue. Self-trust is, I act because I said I would. Self-rescue is, I act because now I have to. If you always wait until you have to, you never become someone who chooses to. If you need chaos to function, you will subconsciously create chaos. And if your discipline depends on threat, then threat controls you, not the other way around. That's the trap. So what's the alternative? Not more pressure, not more noise. Calm execution. Moving before something forces you to. Right now, your discipline depends on fear. The upgrade is acting from decision. That's a different nervous system. Reactive people wait for urgency. Deliberate people start before it exists. If you want to stop performing only when it's urgent, 3 things change. No hacks, just structure. First, start before you feel ready. Deliberate people move on schedule. If you only begin when it's critical, you're not disciplined, you're cornered. Start while it's quiet. No crisis, just movement. Starting early teaches your nervous system that action doesn't require panic. That's how you break deadline addiction and expand capacity. Second, do the first 20% calmly. Most people sprint at the end. You will walk at the beginning. Open the document, outline the structure, solve one problem, train one set. Stop trying to crush it. The goal isn't heroic effort. It's controlled repetition. When the first 20% becomes automatic, urgency loses leverage over you. Third, leave before it hurts. This is the one no one talks about. You don't build discipline by collapsing at the edge of survival. You build it by stopping while you still have control. Finish the work before exhaustion. Stop the study session before burnout. Why? Because consistency survives on sustainability. If every session feels like war, your brain will wait for war again. But if execution feels stable, you can repeat it tomorrow. Early Jin-Woo fought because he had to. Later Jin-Woo trained because he chose to. No spectacle, just repetition. That's the shift. Act when it's quiet. Execute before the consequences appear. Stop needing chaos to function. Here's something most people misunderstand. You don't hate discipline, you hate how it feels at the beginning. Hard doesn't stay hard. It only stays hard if you keep restarting at 0. The gym isn't hard. Restarting the gym every 3 months is hard. The beginning always feels uncomfortable. So you interpret the discomfort as proof. Maybe this isn't for me. No, it's just unfamiliar. And unfamiliar always feels threatening. There are only 3 outcomes when something feels hard. You quit, you adapt, or you expand. Most people quit before expansion happens. Capacity is built through repetition under control. Not emergency, not hype, not desperation. Repetition. If something is always hard for you, it's not because you're incapable. It's because you keep reintroducing yourself to it as a beginner. Every inconsistency renews the friction. You lack accumulated tolerance. The same dungeon that once left Jin-Woo bleeding eventually became routine. Not because danger disappeared, because he expanded. The dungeon didn't shrink. He did not become less challenged. He became more capable. That's the shift. Right now, you keep choosing the hard of chaos. There is another hard. The hard of consistency. The hard of showing up when it's boring. The hard of building capacity slowly. One compounds, the other resets. Hard isn't permanent, but quitting makes it permanent. Capacity makes it normal. This isn't about productivity anymore. It's about identity. You didn't just use pressure. You built yourself around it. I work better under stress. I need urgency. Of course you do. You've never trained any other way. If you can only function when things are collapsing, you're not high performing. You're dependent. High performers don't need fire. They move before it starts. Stop proving yourself in crisis. Prove yourself in consistency. The truth is simple. You don't lack capability. You've proven that. You can focus, you can execute, you can deliver. But only when something's burning. Right now, your discipline depends on threat. Take away the deadline, and it disappears. That means the pressure controls you, not the other way around. Anyone can act when they're cornered. The next level of discipline is acting before it burns. Not louder, not dramatic, just steady. Stop waiting for the fire. Become the kind of person who doesn't need one.